Isuzu have just updated the D-Max and it looks like this. For 2024, Isuzu have updated the D-Max and here are all the changes. So what's changed? Well, this looks very similar to the previous generation and that's because it is riding on the same chassis, has the same motors and same suspension setup, but there's been some other improvements like some new wheels, which also come with some slightly wider tires compared to lesser versions of the D-Max. We get a redesigned element here on the fender flares. We get new LED lights on the top trim D-Max models. We also get a new air curtain design, which is a functional vent here on the side, and we also get a new grille design and new bonnet design. So this is looking a lot more grown up compared to the 2023 version. But yes, under here you can see the 3-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged diesel, which is the same engine we had from the previous generation. So it's a good thing if you like that motor because you still get it in the D-Max. The new front bumper design does look really good. It creates for a pretty iconic side profile. This doesn't look too different from the side. You're still getting an 800mm weighting depth and you do get side steps here on this top spec X-Terrain, and you are getting these contrasting door handles and wing mirror caps as well. We also get the same colored roof rails up top, and now the new aero bar here on the back lacks those tacky stickers that the previous generation had, so this looks a lot better. A nice change as well is that the 4x4 stickers on the side now have a Topic graphic design, so they look a lot better than the previous generation D-Max. We're getting new tail lights, which again are a big improvement, but not every D-Max get these, only the top spec models get this. And we also do get a redesigned tailgate, which is meant to be a little bit more aerodynamic. Opening this, it has gas struts, just like it did on the previous generation, but now every D-Max has this, which is a nice improvement there. But the X-Terrain does come with this hard rolling tonneau cover, which if you press down like that, open it up, and it will reveal also a tub liner, which you get on this top spec X-Terrain. But the biggest change is one you can't see. Well, you sort of can, but these cameras have had a hardware update. The previous generation D-Max did not have cruise control that worked in stop-start traffic, but now it does thanks to these cameras getting an upgrade. They have binocular vision, meaning they see a lot better, and they'll even pick up the brake lights of a car in front of you and start braking then, instead of reacting to the car actually physically slowing down. And you've also got rear cross traffic alert and rear cross braking, so in case you're reversing and a car crosses behind you, your Ute should brake for you, which is all very good upgrades. And also you do get a hardware upgrade on that reversing camera, which looks so much better than the previous generation. Not much has changed here in the back of the D-Max. It's still a little bit squished, but it's okay if you're carrying two adults at the front and the back. This middle seat still is, yes, a bit tight, but at least you do get a center armrest like you've always had in the middle. But what's changed is that we now have hexagonal patterns here in the door cards, which are a bit softer, and there's a new hexagonal theme here on the inside of the D-Max. And we also get a leather type seat in the back, which is very nice and a lot more comfortable than the previous generation. And the other small change is that we're getting USB-C ports in the back instead of USB-A. Isuzu told us the new interior of the 2024 D-Max will have a hexapod design, which are all these little hexagon designs you're seeing that have been thrown into the new car. You've also got this thing called Miura Ori design, which is an ultra modern digital design texture. I'm going to be real and just say this just feels like a updated version of the 2023 car. The biggest improvements would be the fact that we have this new screen here, which is way more responsive. You get more information out of it, like a tire pressure monitoring system, and you can also see what angles you're going at with your car, and you can even check in on the transfer case as well and see what that's doing in case you've accidentally left this in 4 low and you go out onto the bitumen. Now you now have actual tuner and volume dials, which was a big piece of feedback from customers and us reviewers. Now we have that back that's so much more improved, and we also have some buttons down below for your home button and quick access to things like navigation, your phone, and also your vehicle. Now this top spec D-Max X-Terrain has these digital dials for your air conditioning system, but you get the old school manual ones on some less expensive D-Maxes. And something I did also note with this car is that I do find that the buttons in here to open all the little storage areas just feel like they work a lot better than the previous generation. We also get some red stitching up here on the dashboard for the X-Terrain, and we do get new door cards up front. But of course, the other big party piece would be the fact that we have a screen in the gauge cluster now. So that's reading out your speedometer and some other vital car information, but your revs and also your fuel gauge are still analog. So those are a bit more old school, and the screen does look, you know, like it's sort of thrown in the middle there. It doesn't look like a fully digital gauge cluster, but at least it's an improvement compared to the old one. The seats up front now have leather in them as well, which is very nice. And we have this leather wrap steering wheel with red stitching in it and a slightly different wheel design, which looks pretty much the same as the previous generation. And we have one extra button in here, which is called rough terrain mode. And we're going to be testing that right now. Of course, you want to know if the 2024 Isuzu D-Max is good off-road, and so do I. I don't really get opportunities to take these things as aggressively off-road as some other people do, so this is an awesome opportunity to take you on some aggressive moguls and see what this thing can do. Right now, we have our car in 4 high. We want to put it into 4 low because that's the mode we wanted in to get the most amount of traction at low speeds. Now we're in 4 low, we go back from neutral into drive, and away we go. We're not going to need a rear diff locker for this situation here, but the thing that this mogul course will show us is the ground clearances, the ramp over angles, and also our departure angles and approach angles for this vehicle. So it's pretty much the same car underneath as the previous generation D-Max. There's been no major suspension changes, no major engine changes. The only thing that is making the biggest difference here is rough terrain mode. That is a very important feature because when you're going off-road, you're going to lose traction, of course, and when you're in 4 low, you're going to have all your traction control turned off. That's fine for when you are on surfaces that you don't require a lot of traction on, but when you need to pull through on some moguls like this, what you're going to notice is that when you're losing traction on some of the wheels, you're going to want something to pull you through that a little bit more. And basically, this rough terrain mode acts as a little bit like an E front diff locker. So we don't have a front diff locker, but it sort of acts like one, but then also will help shuffle power around on the rear wheels as well. First of all, let's go on this massive ascent here. It's super sharp, super steep, and yes, we will scrape our side skirts on this. So as we go up, oh my gosh, I can't see anything up. This is probably the criticism I have for this car, is that I would love to see on some higher grade models a front camera. That would make a world of a difference, and I don't think it'd be much of a complicated ask, but a front camera on some higher end models would be great for off-roading. But we've made that ascent and descent pretty well, and we're clearing on our front bumper. But what you will find on this model here, yeah, that tow hitch at the rear is scraping a little bit on the back. So that's going to be something that might be an issue for some hardcore off-roaders. As our wheels lift up on the ground, I'm going at low speeds, and now I'm going to have to bring my revs up. We've got no traction. I'm sort of spinning tires, and oh my gosh, we have to put a lot of input there, and that can maybe throw us a bit more forwards than we would like, but it might create a situation where you launch yourself too far forward and you could come crashing down a lot quicker than you might expect. So going into rough terrain mode, which I've turned on, I'm applying the same amount of throttle, but we're getting grip. Now, as our wheels get brought up here, now we're about to lose some wheels to the air, and we're articulating a lot. I just have to modulate at a lower RPM, so it's a lot smoother and less need to lay into the accelerator pedal when you're going off-road, which is a major plus point. And yeah, this car is brilliant off-road. It's a really good ute that, yes, you can use every day like a work ute, you can tow with it, but yes, off-roading in the 2024 D-Max is a lot easier than it's ever been. So Isuzu have given us a private road course to be able to test out the capabilities of the 2024 D-Max. Now, it's interesting because this thing hasn't been changed mechanically at all. It should drive the same, but the major differences are the safety systems in here. We've got a hardware upgrade for the cameras here, which means that we can now do actual cruise control at low speeds, all the way down to 0 kilometers an hour, and even have steering assist down there, which is great. And then we're also able to have better visibility when the light is shining on the cameras. So there should be less issues of the cameras being blocked or hazed out by the sun. And if they do become dirty, you can actually just spray the windshield and just clean them. So that's great. You don't have to worry about getting out of the car and actually cleaning them. Now, the driving dynamics of the X-Terrain, at least, is usual for a ute. It's not that dynamic. It definitely isn't anything like a Ranger Raptor or anything like that. It drives a lot like a work truck, except this one's riding on some softer leaf springs. So it's definitely more comfortable than, say, a work ute setup. And it is very comfortable around this road circuit. There's a lot of steering input here. The car does like to lean and turn quite a lot, and you'll get a lot of tire noise if you do push this thing a bit too hard. I have found that the safety systems work really well, and you do have speed sign recognition here. But what I love is that once you turn off some binging and bonging this will do when it's trying to warn you that you're going over the speed limit that's red, that turns off permanently, which is great, instead of some other cars where that will reset and it becomes quite annoying. So it will read speed signs for you, but you don't have to worry about that annoying you. But you obviously want to know, does the 2024 D-Max still tow as good as it used to? Now, you could tow a caravan, Or you could tow this. Now this isn't a tinny, this thing weighs 3.2 tons. So of course most Isuzu owners tow with their vehicles. I've done a towing course, you guys have seen that video and you've seen the videos of me on social doing that. If you haven't, you should go follow me on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube as well. But now we're doing towing with the 2024 D-Max, and of course we're not going to do it with a little tiny trailer. Instead, we have a giant boat behind us. And this is the second time I've ever towed anything and I've just jumped in and said, yep, let's go for a drive. So we've got a little chicane up through here to sort of help us sort of feel the dynamics of the D-Max while towing something as big as this giant dual-wheeled trailer with a giant boat on the rear. And now we've got a manual mode here, which can help give us a little bit more power as we go up, and you can use it for engine braking as well. But what I do find very impressive with the D-Max, and something that a lot of people do find impressive with this vehicle, is that the torque from this 3-litre engine is just really impressive, that you're able to sort of tow with relative ease. Now, as we come up a gentle hill here, you will definitely notice you're towing something as humongous as that giant steel boat behind me. But as we go through corners here, it does a really good job of just sort of masking the size and weight of that trailer behind me. So I'm pretty impressed. Now, we've also got a new trailer brake controller here down as well near my knee, and it sort of illuminates more or less depending on how much brake you have applied. Now, moving around a obstacle is pretty easy thanks to this thing being nice and torquey on the down low. I can tell you what, maneuvering a boat like this, yes, while it's effortless with this type of motor, it just does not feel as nice as not towing something. So as we go down here, I can bring down our gears and we can sort of do a tiny bit of engine braking and lay off the brakes a bit, which is nice. And that gives you a nice controlled speed as we go through this corner. Whack it back into drive, it does that pretty easily, and yeah, look, we're cruising through here, no dramas. And so the engines for the 2024 range of the D-Max haven't changed at all. So if you like towing with your existing D-Max but want some new features, well, it's good to know that there have been no engine changes for the new model lineup. There's just been a bunch of new specs and new prices and new trim and all that sort of stuff, but the mechanics stays the same. And yes, this thing can tow very easily. Now, the two biggest reasons why I would upgrade to a 2024 Isuzu D-Max would be, one, those new screens, which just feel a lot nicer on the inside, and also are just way more pleasant to interact with than the previous generation screens. And number two is that new safety system up there. The hardware upgrade to those cameras means that we can use our cruise control in stop-start traffic, which is a major improvement, especially if you're spending a lot of time in these trucks. And with that all said, thank you so much for watching. My name's Cameron. I'll see you in the next one.